Alright, so this is going to be part 2 of how to deal with split push, my little series. If you didn't watch part 1, it's about the draft, and it's very important that you watch that before this video because I talk about how my team decided that we wanted to play this game against their split push, because I'm in no way saying that this is the best team to play against split push, but it is how we decided to play against it. And it's important to watch that. And there should be an annotation somewhere on the screen for you to click to see that video. So going into this game, we pretty much knew what their lanes were going to be. We kind of guessed it, Drow bottom, safe farming, Tide off lane, Necro mid, and then Mirana's going to be roaming. And so, because we know that, we can pretty safely guess that Slark will be able to handle or should we need to start with a support, we can help with one support to the top lane to help Slark just to get those early levels against Tide, and then Slark should be able to solo against him. But that means we can also place one of our supports mid because we know that Mirana is going to be around trying to get an early advantage on the Invoker, which does end up happening. We're going to skip forward a little bit just so you can kind of see that. And as our offlane, we're able to just get enough levels and last hits to get Ellis. And so just quickly going into this, just to remind everyone of what our goals going into this were is we picked the Beastmaster and kind of the Slark Invoker so we can split push against them. We picked the Elder Titan so that way we can stomp and slow down their pushes, and then we picked the Disruptor because we wanted to, if they ever were going to disengage off of a push, we can get them back and put them in a position where they're not ready. And also we picked the Slark so that way he can get in the back lines. We're going to see a lot happening. So you'll see, we start off dual lane mid just so that way this Necro can't get a early lead on our Invoker. Our Invokers are going to be able to get some good farm, get some regen items up. And because we see that the Tide actually leaves the top lane alone, we can actually commit both supports to mid, and it actually works out because the Mirana is roaming around and the Tide's jungling. And because of that, we're able to kind of keep equal farm. We're going to see in a little bit that they do get a little bit of a lead, but for the most part, it's pretty simple. So I'm going to skip the laning stage and just kind of jump to the 15-minute mark, kind of when like the laning stage ends. So you're going to see they already took one of our towers. Sorry, there's some replay bugs, like you can't see the towers there. And some other things are going to happen, like I can't switch feel. So, I mean, some early game kills, that stuff's not really that important. It's just the standard, ganking lanes and all that. That's pretty much it. Tide, at this point, 14 minutes, he has his mech. And, we just get picked off and stuff. They're going to end up paying this tower. Have to restall him a lot. They get the tower. So that's just them starting the early push. They've got 2 towers at this point. And at this point, we pretty much lose it. They just disengage. I think they should have kept pushing. And that's one thing to preface is the enemy team did make a lot of mistakes. We were putting pressure on top, so they felt the need to go back. I think their Necro thought he was too low to continue. He didn't have much mana. And at that point, they only had the 1 mana boots. Or they 2, but still. They didn't feel like they could push the next one, which I think they could have. And so I'm going to jump to the 17-minute mark because that's where things get good. And we're going to see here that they have really core items to start pushing. Tidehunter has his mech. Drow Ranger has a Dragonlance so she can outrange the towers. And they just have really good farm. If we look at the net worth real quick, they're up 1,000. And so going into this fight, we see him pushing. We decided we want to try and stop this one. And early game Tide's Ravage kind of what allows him to push. So we are hopefully going to try and lure him before he gets it off. But his Kraken shell work. And we see our Slark was able to get in the back lines because he has the Shadow Blade. And unfortunate for us, they played this fight really well. And my main goal going into this fight was to kill the Drow, just so that way they couldn't push afterwards. And they end up really just, with all their heals, the early game advantages, we just couldn't deal with it. And we are lucky enough to get the Drow, so they can't push as hard after it, but we do end up losing this fight pretty heavily, just because of the amount of early game heals and aura with the Drow. That was just so much damage. And I believe they do get the tower here, even without the Drow. But we slowed it down. They could have gotten this tower so much faster. But we were able to slow them down because we did kill the Drow, which we were able to do because the Slark was in the back lines and all that. And so next we're going to jump to 1940. We're actually pretty close, right? And at this point, we're going to see, I'm going bottom. I know that, we don't know. but I don't know. I just kind of assume that the farm's going to be there. I see that they're mid, and they're going to be pushing one of these towers. It's kind of like the call that we felt they would do. So I'm pushing bottom, and we don't know, but they're smoking up to kill. And this is going to be a really important part where you're going to see our push is going to put them in a position where they either have to respond to it or keep pushing. So I'm bottom lane. We don't see this coming. We see one, we see all of them. I see they're getting jumped. Immediately, I decide I'm going to TP back. But after I see that our disruptor gets scythed, I cancel my TP. And the reason is that is I know that's a lost fight for us. We can't fight. The max we can do is just get away at this point. And I'm so close to the tower that I can take this tower. So they're chasing us, and we're able to disengage pretty well. And now they have a pretty good easy. If I TP'd there, they could just easily push this tower. But because I'm taking this tower so fast, they have to respond, and I'm actually able to force them off this tower. And you know, if they're not getting towers off of a huge, getting a 5-man gank for that, that's a win in our book. Even though we lost Disruptor, and we kind of lost a little bit of control of our jungle, they now just TP'd all the way bottom, and they lost pretty much any advantage they'd gained at that point. And if you look, they do have a 4k gold advantage. They could definitely have taken that fight. And like I said, this is just kind of us outplaying them. Like, I think they should have just kept pushing and traded towers, maybe. I don't know. Who knows? It's just kind of like we put them in a position where they had to respond, and because of it, we came out in a pretty good situation. Like, I mean, they got the deny, but that's an extra tower that we got, and the tower that they didn't get on us. And at this point, we're up a tower, and that's really good. And our Slark Shadow Blade has allowed us to get a couple pickoffs, which actually end up being super helpful, because when Drow's not on the map, you know, they can't put as much pressure into pushing. And because of this pickoff that we got with the Slark, which is kind of why we picked him, we're able to get Rosh. And when you're against this split push lineup, you got to be looking. Our Slark just died, but when you're against this split pushing lineup, their goal is going to be get Rosh before the 20-minute mark, which they didn't do, and push high ground with it. So we were able to see that they didn't take it, and if they can't push with Aegis, that's a big timer that they can't be in the lead. And just to talk about how we itemize this game, we got a good amount of tranquil boots, and that's just so that way we'll always be full health and we can respond to fights, as opposed to going maybe like a greedy mech or arcane boots or brown boots and not being full health when we join a fight, and then we'd pretty much just instantly die. And so we have this Aegis, but they decide that they still have the better push, and they're going to try and push here in a couple minutes. Let's jump ahead to 23. So they push bot tower. We're still 3 top, so we're just kind of mirroring them. We're going to mirror their movements this whole game. We see them pushing. All right, we're going to push hard and try and hopefully put in a situation where we're pushing harder, which we can't. So because we can't push harder, but we are pushing 2 lanes at this point, so that's a good amount of pressure that they might feel they have to respond to. We're going to see this whole time Echo Stomps are going to be coming out, and that's a good 5 seconds where, you know, they're not pushing or hitting our towers, and that's huge. So as a Beastmaster, I could have stayed, but I felt that I needed to be in this fight just because we did have Aegis and we could have taken this one. So you see they Moonlight Shadowed, and this is where the Disruptor pick comes incredibly in handy, and the Echo Stomps. This fight's going to end up lasting almost 3 minutes. So we place a Static Storm, but we able to get this glimpse back while they're retreating, so they felt the need to come in again. And we do end up getting the drought because of it. So they wasted a couple of spells in the Aegis. But you'll see they still 4 versus 5 at this point. And that's still a good fight that they can take. And they decide, alright, we're not going to do it, so they try and retreat, booms them back. Now they're all coming back in. And you're going to see off this that we killed them Mirana. Now they're going to try and retreat again. So this is the Slark going to the back lines with the Aegis. And, you know, we're kind of low health, so they are kind of doing alright. Our Slark makes a little bit of a mistake. We weren't close enough. But they have a lot of heals, so their Necro goes to pretty much full health. And so they decide they still want to push. Drow War is going to be up, and they do end up getting our Invoker here. So they're still feeling pretty confident to push this. And like I said, we were pushing top, so we did get the top tower. But now they're threatening Rax. It's 2 versus 4. And, you know, normally that'd be bad. But with the Echo Stomp, we can continue to stall them. And then watch this. This is where we just put them in a really bad position. They end up getting the tier 3. And now, because we've stalled this fight for so long, like glimpsing them back every time they retreat, and with all these stomps, Static Storm is coming off cooldown again, and also Savage Primal Roar. That's how long we were able to stall this fight. So he gets the Static Storm off. And this is huge. He can't have his heals, or actually end up, we're gonna get him pretty low. And once again, they're gonna try and retreat. But with the vision, with Primal Spirit, we're able to bring him back. And so we get that kill, and then they tried to come in and save him, and they both die. So we end up, in the end, we kill all 5 of their heroes, and they don't even get a single rack. So we did have Aegis, which is kind of like the saving grace of this fight. But we just stalled the fight for so long that, despite all their heals, we were able to always like reset our fights if things were ever going poorly, and then just putting them in a position where if they ever retreated, you know, we're punishing that. And so we're gonna jump ahead to 2840. And this is where they try and push again. And so you're gonna see setting up to this. I've been putting pressure on top. Slark gets picked off.
Radiant's top tower is under attack. Structures are fortified.
Sorry, I'm gonna back it up. So we see top lanes close to their racks. So I end up getting a pick off, but we see that they're pushing, and so my idea is, all right, we're just gonna counter push them. If they can take our racks, we can stall them. And like, I can't push as fast as them, but with the Elder Titan stomps, I can. So I'm starting to take racks, and so they already lost their Wyvern at this point, so they're 3 versus 4, because or 3 versus 3. But my Invoker's gonna end up leaving. But Mirana decides to TP back, and at that point, it's a 3 versus 4. And because she TP'd back, I know I can TP all the way back here, and now it's a 3 versus 4. We're able to punish them. Because we were able to force a response from them. So once again, they got a tower. We do lose our Invoker, which is pretty huge. But now our Slark's gonna be up, so it is still 2 versus 4. Or 3 versus 4, sorry, at this point. Because their Mirana TP'd back to respond. I would have gotten the racks if she didn't. But now we're in a favorable position where we can take a fight where they're 1 man down. Our Slark's able to get a good pick. And we're able to just kind of isolate him and chase him down here. So this is kind of the beginning of the end for a push lineup when they've pushed twice at 30 minutes and they haven't gotten the racks. You know, they're kind of running out of steam.
I'll take that.
And so we're able to get some really good picks. They kind of mess up and they keep coming in. But it's just we have one of those lineups that can catch them pretty well. That's kind of what we do. So we end up getting pretty much a team wipe on them. I don't think we killed Tide. So this next part's gonna be important. So after this team fight, I go back to the count at least the range racks just decrease, but that's alright. And I see that this wave's pushing, so I'm just gonna push bottom, and my team's in position to push mid. So I'm going bottom as Beastmaster, and we're gonna see that while I'm down here, I'm just trying to push lanes this whole time, because if I can have our lanes on their side of the map, if like I see them on the other side, then I can always be in a position to counter their push. And so I had a Hawk, and I think they probably should have Roche there instead. But they decided to go for me, and this is where they mess up pretty big. You know, this is nothing we could have predicted. I ended up blinking into them, and if he had actually Reaper Scythed me there, I would have been dead for, I think, like 90 seconds or something crazy. And I wouldn't have been able to buy back, and I think that would have been enough time for them to push. But they do end up going for the Roche here, and they do get it, which is big. Because now, this is kind of like their last push. They have they have the Aegis for this high ground push. We have 2 sets of exposed racks. So obviously, in their call, they're going to get this tower, and then try and Megas us. And that's very possible. We have 2 exposed racks, and they have an Aegis. So at 34, so it takes like a minute to get up there. You're gonna see they're gonna push this tower. I'm up again now instead of the extra 30-minute timer, and so I'm pushing bot with our Invoker. The whole time this game we're just trying to mirror their movements. While they're pushing there, we're pushing here, and we're also pushing mid. We're just kind of being more efficient with our map time than they are. So Disruptor, he's not gonna be pushing, so he TP's back, helps stall. me and Invoker, or Slark stays with me. Invoker goes back so that way he can stall with his Tornado and also Deafening Blast. And so the Echo Stomps are going, so you can see me and Slark are pushing. And we're just stalling with EMPs. We're just tossing anything we can at them. Kind of putting them out of position. At this point, after we get the tower, I tell Slark to TP back because I can push fast enough on my own. And if he's in the fight and he can punish that, you know, they're not being efficient. So he gets me the Rex, and then we're going to go do that, and I'm going to stay. And so we're just stalling. They're not hitting racks. They're trying to fight us. But we're able to disengage with all the Glimmer Capes and all that. So our Slark TP'd back, and he's there to fight. You'll see. I already got bot racks, and now I'm working on top. So at this point, if they end up getting racks, we're even trade at this point. And you'll see my team's just doing a great job at stalling them. So they get 1 racks, and I've gotten a melee racks already. So our Elder Titan buys back, and we're still just tossing spells to slow them down while I farm. And because of this, their Mirana ends up TPing back. This helps stop me. And now, like I said before, we're fighting a 5 vs 4 or 4 vs 4. And I believe we're able to push them again. We're just stalling. I kill one of their healers, and all that's left is going to be the Necro. He did have Aegis, but we just kind of had the mana advantage and spell advantage at that point. They'd used their Ravage, so they didn't have it anymore. Their mech was down. We're just kind of able to use the rest of our spells to fight a better fight, and we just put us in a position where we had baited out all their spells, and we had already traded like a fair racks. So it was just like, I don't know, we put them in a position where they just couldn't win. And like I said, this game wasn't solely win on us. They made a lot of mistakes, and we're gonna see one right here. For some reason, this Necro decides that he can kill me, and he can't. So he tries to jump me in the site and all that. Ends up feeding. And that's just a huge mistake on their part. Like I said, the glimpse. So we're able to get 2 kills. And so this leads up into the last part of the push of the game, which is at 38. So we decide to push mid. We get that. We took this tower, and they the Necro and the Tide, or I don't think the Tide did, but the Necro definitely bought back. And we decide that we can't push high ground into them because they do have Ravage up. So what we decide to do is kind of bait back here. You'll see the Radiant doesn't know this. We knew that they didn't have vision because of our Slark, and we were just kind of waiting for them to either come up here or here. And we saw that they kind of isolated both their heroes. And we just, when you're in a situation like this, you want to go for whoever bought back first, so that way they obviously can't be in the fight. And although they get a good Ravage off without the Necro, they were too isolated. The Drow and the Necro were able to win this fight, and ultimately we just kind of win the game off that. And so what this game really came down to is we never put ourselves in a situation where it was a standoff of them pushing into us and just slowly whittling at our towers. We were always going for another objective, pushing other lanes and making it so when they responded, we could TP back and take favorable fights. That's really what ended up winning the game for us. And it's one of the ways that you can counter split pushing. So I hope that this video it was more just to show you guys how, as a team, you can have a game plan going in. I'll be in a little bit here. How you can have a game plan going in, and as long as you stick to it, it can work. Because realistically, they could have run over us pretty easily with our lineup if they had laned a little bit better, or if they made some better plays. But we didn't give them a lot of opportunities to do that. So I hope you found this video helpful. If you have any questions or suggestions on how I could have explained things better, definitely let me know. And I hope that you subscribe if you want to see more videos like this, because I really want to keep making them. I want to help you guys. So thank you so much for watching, and stay tuned for the next video.